Well, hello, friends. Welcome back. This is the continuation of the Friday music. Are they good or not? What's going on with that Friday music stuff? Well, we talked a lot about it already. The next one up is the best of the Guess Who, and this is a really nice record. They put it on a gatefold again. They're really good about that, and I think it did come as a gatefold originally because I do remember this. And but you know the weird thing about this record is they put it on this old RCA label, RCA Victor. Now it came out on the orange RCA label, so I don't know why they do that. I don't know what's so hard about putting it on the proper label, you know, the period correct label, but this is the way they've done it. And now this is also got Kevin Gray RTI, so it sounds fantastic. Now, about 8-9 years ago, I went out again and I bought a pristine, original copy of this record. Because originally I did buy it in 1970 because it's got all the old great Guess Who songs on it. And this is just a really, really good record. I really love it. A lot of great songs that I love is on this record. And you know, the Guess Who's from Winnipeg. So when you're living in Winnipeg, you know, you got to have this record. You got to watch hockey and you got to drink beer, or they throw you out. I mean, that's just part of being in Winnipeg, okay? So now, I had listened to that Orange RCA all those years, and the sound was really, really good on it. There was a couple songs on there I used to use for critical listening when I was getting different gear and things because I just knew it so well and it sounded so good. When I got this one, it's better. It's better than the original pressing. It sounds great. Okay, so now we get to this Close to the Edge record, this half-speed mastered record, and this is where I don't know what you want to call it, any kind of controversy or anything, but this is where on this record in particular, in that video where I talked about Yes, a fellow had pointed out to me, he said, listen, I don't know if you read the Hoffman forums or not, but they talk a lot about these Friday music records over there. And I only had, you know, the two Yes records on Friday music that are both phenomenal sounding records. And he pointed me over to the Hoffman forum. So I went over there and I looked at the Hoffman forum. You know, I've been over there a number of times. Now the Hoffman forums, you know, Steve Hoffman is a recording engineer, and he started a forum. And a lot of the folks on those forums are audiophiles. They don't like digital records. They're record collectors. They don't like digital records. You know, like we don't like digital records. That's why we're buying records. If I wanted digital, I'd just buy the CD, if that's good enough. Or I'd stream my music. Right? No, we don't want to do that. Well, I want to listen to some great analog sound, so I'm buying some expensive records. And that's another thing. You know, the people and the poor folks in the UK and overseas, they've got to pay a lot of money for these records. And that's kind of like I said, a bone of contention because of the way that they're producing these covers and stuff. But, you know, I read through the whole thread on there, and there's a bunch of folks saying, well, I've got, this record and that record, and they sound just like the UK Plums, or I've got this one, and it sounds great, and I got this one, it doesn't sound good at all, and I've got this one. And so, when I read the whole thing, there was only one fella that had made a comment about this particular record. And he said it didn't sound very good. Well, what was he playing it on, a Crosley? I mean, honestly, because this sounds fantastic. It sounds utterly fantastic. It's so much better than all those other records. You know, when you listen to half-speed masters for 40 years like I have, you can tell this is half-speed mastered because it's got all that depth in the music, all the harmonic structure that you expect from those type of records. And it's so much better than the other records. So, you know, this is something that we learned about. And I had another fellow was saying, you know, I've got all these records, and I don't have, you know, some of these reissues, but I've got the remastered CDs, and they sound fantastic. Well, come on. How do you think that they make the CD. They have to remaster the tape. And you know, these record companies, just think about it. Back in the day, back in the 80s, when CDs were in their heyday, in the early 90s, when everybody was, even in all of the 90s basically, yeah, everybody was buying CDs, thinking they were the greatest thing, there was perfect sound forever. And the record companies were reissuing their whole back catalogs and remastering everything to CD. Well, that's why all their mastering studios are all CD now. They converted all their equipment over to make CDs, to take a tape, and what they can make out of that tape, it's going to be digital, because that's what everything is set up to make. It's not set up to make an analog record out of a tape. It's set up to make a digital, whatever they're going to make. Now, one thing we learned is that if you're going to make an analog record, you've got to have a tape machine that you're using to transport your tape. It's got to have a analog delay in that. You can't have a digital delay. And all the new machines that are coming out, that have been coming out for a long time already, since the digital age, all those tape machines have a digital delay in them, because they were making CDs. So the digital delay now, once you run that tape machine and you're going to remaster that tape to whatever you're making it, and you have digital delay, now you've got a digital record. That delay in there, it turns it to digital. So unless you're at Sterling Sound or you're at Coherent Audio or one of these places that have the proper tape, the older tape decks that have been refurbished and have analog delay in them, you can't make an analog record. Abbey Road Studios, they can't make analog records. Their machines they're all set up for digital. And all the big companies, Atlantic, all them big places, that's why the Led Zeppelins. This is another thing another guy had said to me, and he was upset about it. And I think it's because the big record companies, they control these people. They control how it's going to get made. Why can't Led Zeppelin, Paul McCartney, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, all these, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, the Eagles, all these big groups, why can't they get the record company to take their tapes and make analog records? Don't they know any better? What's going on? I don't exactly know. I just think it's because those record companies, like I said, they can't make analog records. And then, of course, they tell these people, and obviously they're not audiophiles. Look at Neil Young. He's not letting them take his stuff and turn it into digital. He's making all his stuff analog. He started with that Pono player, and he heard the difference when you took a regular CD and then you took 2496, and you could say, "Wow, this stuff sounds better." And so he knows that there's hi-fi and there's mid-fi and there's lo-fi and all these different phis. And so he learned back around that point where what record was that came out? Anyway, the Neil Young record came out on that Vapor vinyl, and wow, it sounded so fantastic because it was analog. And so he's not doing it. There's a few, but why can't they all do that? We don't know. But if you're using a digital delay tape machine, you can't make an analog record. And of course, if you're going to take a CD, you're going to make a CD, you've got to remaster it. You've got to take the tape and you've got to turn it into a digital file, and that's remastering it. If you're going to, that's what we like about all these new remasters that are coming out, the records that are remastered, if they're doing it properly, because Sterling Sound, that's why Analog Productions records are always so amazingly sounding so great, because Chad, he knows what to do. He wants to get the original tape and get sterling sound or get coherent audio or get Bernie Grundman or someone at Grundman Mastering that has the proper equipment that can make a analog lacquer. Then basically what you've got is you've got that remaster now. That's another original pressing. Because, you know, these records are 40, 50 years old. Try to find a 50-year-old record in great shape. It's hard to do. So now they can remaster it, and you know what they do, of course. This is you know, a Grundman or people that know how to master. They're pouring the love on it. You know, back when Steve Hoffman and them were making records, they'd pour the love. They would take their time, and it would be meticulous. They'd be very meticulous about how they did every little thing. They wanted it to sound their best. Big record companies aren't interested in that. They're interested in making money. That's the only reason they're making records. I watched the guy's video. He says, man, I wonder what happened. Why are they making all these records? Who started all this? What's the record resurgence for? What's all going on? And he goes, well, I don't know. Come on. Think about it. We talked about that before in a video just earlier. These big record companies, they used to let Rhino and all these other companies take the tape and make records. Classic records, and different people reissue labels. They could make really good records. Well, you know, the big record companies, they can't sell CDs anymore. You know, all this streaming going on. How are they supposed to make a living? Well, they said, well, there's all these people, they're buying records. You know, you can't download a record. So why don't we start making the records? And we're not going to give our tapes away no more to folks. We'll just start doing it. Because we know that people will always buy the Beatles. They'll always buy Led Zeppelin. They'll always buy Pink Floyd. I mean, there's some of these records you can put out, people will always buy it. And so they started reissuing that stuff. And they're making money doing it. But they're making digital records because, you know, we've been all through that. So anyway, this is a great sounding record. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not. It's a phenomenal record. Okay. Next up is the this is the 2LP 45 RPM. This is about 4 steps up from that half-speed master in fidelity. So if you love Yes, if Yes is one of your favorite bands, then what you need to do is save up your beans and get this record. You will not be disappointed because the money, it's worth every penny you pay for this thing. That's how good it is. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching and hitting that old subscribe button and doing all that stuff. I appreciate it very much. Bye-bye for now.